What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierphone Orbital. Thank you for stopping by. Let's talk about a hybrid chassis install. This is an install on a KR Sabers Proelium. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Every time I see the name of this hilt, I want to say petroleum. This is the KR Sabers Proelium. I designed a special hybrid chassis for this hilt. The chassis is available in both Profi board and CFX for those of you who are interested. As soon as I'm done with this demo video, I will likely add this chassis to my online chassis index. So I do want to come into Fusion and talk about the chassis itself. And then of course we will come up top, do a quick demo, do the whole thing, right? This is a CFX build or a CFX install. So I will do my best to muddle through navigating CFX, right? So anyhow, let's come into Fusion. All right, so here it is. This is the chassis for the KR Sabers Proelium. So one of the things that I really like about this hilt is the fact that there is so much real estate. There is a lot of real estate in the grip of this hilt, just a hair over 28 millimeters on the inside. So plenty of room to have a 28 millimeter speaker down here. I've got my battery cover, a huge brass crystal reveal, right? So let's start at the bottom. 28 millimeter speaker down here. Around the back, underneath the board, I do have a kill switch. So this is a CFX build. CFX board will sit in this tray. One of the caveats with this particular install and this chassis, if you are installing a CFX board in this chassis, you will have to 86 the USB port. I know a lot of people don't use their USB port, myself included. Unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. I mean, there really is no need to have a USB port on a CFX, in my humble opinion. You can do all of your firmware updates through the SD card and all of that, all your config through the SD card as well. But clearance-wise, the compromise that I had to make, to be able to get a battery cover, brass battery cover and all that, was to remove the USB port on the CFX, because the CFX board has such a larger footprint, a much larger footprint than Profi board, right? So no USB port on CFX installs for this chassis. For Profi board, it's fine. Everything can stay in place, and you can't use a Profi board without a USB port anyway. So anyhow, CFX is here. Around back, here is our battery cover. And then let's get up to this crystal chamber, because there's a lot going on in this crystal chamber. A lot of brass. Right, so this is a hefty chunk of brass. A lot of greebly work going on the sides of this crystal chamber. Around back, there are two tubes hidden. Those are where I bring my leads, right? So there's a tube here, there's a tube here. I bring all of my wires up through those back tubes up into this compartment. Everything is wired up here, right? I particularly like, if I could just learn how to navigate in Fusion, I like these panels that I did. They're simple. But after weathering this with brass black, this really comes out. We'll take a closer look at that when we come up top. But I like how these panels came out, right? But that's the crystal reveal. Real quartz point in here. Underneath that is a single neopixel to light that quartz. And then up top, here is the stem that continues up into the rest of the hilt. So one of the requests that I had with this install was to get some neopixels behind the mesh in the upper emitter section of the hilt. That is what this channel is for, right? So I've got two 2020 neopixel strips in here. In front of them is a piece of mylar for a little bit of diffusion. And then up top is where our PCB emitter is from. This is where our PCB emitter is. This is from KR Sabers, of course. And then around back, this is where I bring my leads through for the switch PCB. One of the cool things about this hilt is that KR Sabers includes a special switch PCB that has onboard neopixels as well, right? So I've got a bunch of leads coming through here to wire that up. This indentation is for the set screw that holds the entire chassis in place. I'm going to talk about that when we come up top too, because that, the customer, you do need to take note of that. Okay. That's it. Let's come up top. All right, so here it is, the Proelium from KR Sabers. This is a super classy looking hilt. This hilt, in my opinion, is also ripe for etching and all kinds of like customizations, right? That you could do. You could probably come up with some really awesome etch work for this shroud. It can be weathered. Just a really nice blank canvas hilt. high quality, as I would expect nothing less from Cal and the guys over at KR Sabers, right? Really, really nice hilt. Look at the size of this grip. There's so much real estate that you can take advantage of in this grip, and it's 28 millimeters. It's beautiful. As an installer and a chassis designer, what more could you ask for, right? So let's take a look at this chassis. You want to unthread your grip. Here is that chassis, okay? So I have weathered all of this brass with brass black. So I was talking about these panels up here. I don't know why. I just really, really like how these came out. And they look a lot better weathered because you can get, you know, that contrast between dark and like black and brass when you weather it. I really, really, really like that, okay? So here's our CFX around back. Battery tray. Let me take this battery out. So yeah, as you can see, that CFX board is butting up right against the bottom of this battery compartment. If that USB port was down there, we wouldn't have any clearance. And vice versa, if I'd flipped this board, if I flipped the CFX board and put it down the incorrect way with USB port up, that SD card, that SD slot would still go into that battery chamber. So we had to 86 that USB port, okay? So this build takes a protected button top 18650 battery. Flat part of your battery goes down towards that speaker. So this is on. I have set this up with a stock CFX config, okay? So to you, the customer, you will need to change the animation of this crystal however you see fit. This crystal was wired up to LS2. Just so you know, okay? So this is wired up to LS2. You configure that any way you want. Let's put that battery cover back on. So here's that crystal chamber all lit up. And then we've got those two 2020 NeoPixel strips up here for extra accent, okay? And then another thing that is really cool about this hilt is this lens in this control box. Underneath this is that custom switch PCB that KR Sabers includes. All of these upper accent NeoPixels, the strip, the one in here, these are all wired up in along in tandem with the blade. Okay, just so you know, right? But yeah, really cool feature about this hilt is that lens in here. Right. So this chassis, I did put twist to activate on here. The chassis is held in place with this knurled thumb screw here. So you don't really want to unthread this. I did put a very, very small bead of E6000 up in here, but you don't want to unthread this because this chassis is held in place with that, and the chassis is wired to these switches. So if you unthread this and yank this chassis out, you're going to break these leads, okay? So just something to be aware of. You'll never have to unthread this to you, the customer. This is the one you want to take note of. This is going to hold your blade in place, blade retention. But that's it. Let's come down to the bottom. I want to get a closer look at this chassis. So there's that crystal chamber. I like how that came out. Battery tray, battery compartment. Can't talk this morning. I feel like I can't talk every morning. Anyhow, so let's put the grip on. Man, this sounds good. Sounds great. All right. And then there's that switch section. Lit up. Okay. Let's go ahead and put a blade in this. So this hilt does ship with a custom blade plug. I actually have one of my own blade plugs in here. I put that in for the glam shots, okay? It will take a 1-inch blade, NeoPixel blade. So unthread that knurled thumb screw, rest your blade on those PCB pins, and then you can tighten that thumb screw to secure your blade, okay? And then you're ready to go. It's a great feeling grip in this hilt. I really love, there's like a knurled sleeve in here. I really love the feeling of this hilt, or the grip. And there's that awesome, awesome switch section. That lit NeoPixel strip. So switch-wise, This bottom switch will serve as your main. Top is your aux. Okay. Let's see what else. I think this is just the stock CFX config. Okay. Let's do one more.
Sound bank selection.
Let's go with that one.
He's cloned Star Killer in massive numbers. He's building an army.
It's an interesting blade style. Let's get a different one in here.
Sound bank selection.
Okay. Let's do one more.
Sound bank selection.
I suggest you try it again, Luke.
With the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to...
All right. So that's it. That's the Proelium from KR Sabers. Super classy looking hilt. Really, really nice. And again, a nice hilt for customizations, right? I have yet to see any with like any etch patterns, but I'm sure there are some folks out there that are going to be doing that, right? So as far as the chassis is concerned, for folks who are interested in purchasing the Profi board and CFX versions of this chassis, I will be adding it to my online store shortly, right? So, and of course, to the customer, thank you very much for trusting me with your install. If anyone has any questions about this install or the chassis, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.